Sean Payton thinks Bo Nix is going to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league in the next 2 years. Really?
What?
Let's go deep with I'm Goodman, right?
I think so.
Should we start this over again?
Nah.
No, we're live. We're really good with live television, except for all the mistakes that we made. We'll edit this all out at some point, but probably not because this is live. You're going deep with Jackson and Goodman.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
That's a great way to start the show.
Look at you, man. Just a professional in the game. You've been at this for a long time, and it shows, Eric.
Listen, we got off the starting line, and a nail went right into the tire at the beginning of the Indy 500 with this show.
It was kind of like that snap over Peyton Manning's head in the first play of the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. It ended up giving Russell Wilson his very first trophy.
But you want to hear how I segued this beautifully as a professional?
Yeah.
Because I talked about, a car and a nail in the tire.
Yeah.
Okay. This show is brought to you by Landmark Lincoln and the new Lincoln Navigator. It's next level luxury. You got to take this thing for a spin. Go see our friends at Landmark Lincoln in Englewood, right off of Broadway. We're going to landmarklincoln.com. I feel like that for being
that was nice. You're back on track, Eric.
Back on the racetrack with the right car, the Lincoln Navigator.
You want to hear a funny story about a nail in a tire?
Not particularly.
It's going to be a quick one, but it's a true one. I was driving around downtown looking for a place to park. There was a lot of construction around, tons of construction around, like there always is in Denver for some reason, right? But I'm coming this way, and I'm about to turn right on a street, and this guy on a scooter who's a construction worker comes out of nowhere and almost hits me, right? And we have this tense moment. I know he's a construction worker because he has this like construction guy hat, and because he's going to get lunch or something. Right. But like he's like we're cussing at each other, like what the fuck, man? What the fuck?
Little road rage going on?
Yeah, a little road rage going on. And he was like, so I go around the corner. I end up finding a parking spot. Okay, and I'm gone for a couple hours, and I come back and I have a flat tire. I pull that thing off, and what I find is about a 3-inch screw drilled into my tire. Not a scuff mark on it. Didn't just pick it up on the street. This dude found my truck and put a screw into my tire. Screwed up, right?
Did they know who they were messing
with? They didn't. But it just goes to show you, man.
Did they know that you were friends with, and still are friends with, big, tough football players unlike yourself?
They didn't know that, and had they probably wouldn't have done that.
I bet.
Or maybe he might have because he's probably a Raiders fan.
Wow, well done.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked through a Raiders crowd?
Oh yeah.
But I'm not. Listen, you played.
I know, but I've been to Raiders games.
And how do you feel walking through that crowd? If you wear an opponent's
jersey? Tightened up a little bit. I mean,
that was the real
deal
Oakland, out there.
In Oakland, it was.
Yeah.
So much so, I'm from San Jose.
Yeah.
So we would play the Raiders twice a year, once there, once here, and it was fun for me to go home because we were landing at SFO, and I'm seeing my friends and family. But my mom came to one of those games, and then after one, she's like, "I'm not going to that anymore."
Right.
I'm not going to that because if you wear the opposing teams, if you wear Broncos colors, you're going to get yelled at. You're going to get stuff thrown on you.
Right.
As the Raiders devolve into a mess on the field, the fans also devolve into a mess in the stands, end up fighting each other.
Right.
They're really drunk. It's funny because you can always tell how rowdy the crowd is. I could, based on how long the lines for the porta potty would be when we arrived, because I was always on the same bus.
Right.
And if you get there and the lines are snaking around the parking lot, these guys have been here since 8 a.m. drinking.
Right.
And that's the way it was in Oakland. And so we always knew that we'd get a frenzy at the beginning of the game. Then they'd start to lose the grip on the game, both on the field and off. And it was always a good time.
Well, I don't think that's going to be the case when the Broncos go to Santa Clara on Saturday for the opener. Sean Payton announced it's not really big news here because Sean Payton does play his starters. He does play his top players historically in preseason games. As a guy who played in preseason games, but now you see some coaches not want to play their starters. Guys like Sean McVay doesn't want to risk injury. Where do you side on that? Should the starters play some preseason, or is there too much risk?
Play them. Play those starters. Let them get out there and, get a lather going. Call some plays against the defense that doesn't have the script ahead of time in the environment with referees and no coaches back there behind the huddle and fans in the stands, even though there's not going to be a ton of fans. Right. But I think there's a huge value in getting those preseason games under your belt. You don't have as much as that anymore. You don't have as much practice time, training camp time either. You're not doing double days. And so that physicality, the game speed stuff is hard to simulate. And so I think these guys need to do it when they can. Of course, you pull them out after a couple series and you ramp them up in the first, they have 3 preseason games, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, so, I think you got to play these guys as much as possible. They're going to have
as much as possible.
Well, but you also got to play the other guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like within reason, right?
Okay.
But there are guys on this roster who you got to watch them play in games, too, to understand who they are.
Absolutely.
Because these starters, you kind of know who they are. These starters are starting for a reason. They're probably not going to get supplanted by a surging free agent training camp body.
Nate Jackson is not going to be replacing Rod Smith anytime soon.
No. Even though maybe, he would have done a good job out there, right? I mean,
who's he? You?
Me.
Oh, okay.
There's no one who could convince me, Eric, that if you had thrown me the ball on every play, we wouldn't score on every touchdown and win every game. That's how I felt.
Of course.
And that's how most receivers, I hope, feel. Right. But, the starters are kind of set. It's the back end of the roster that you really need to figure out. And it's a really important decision because these guys are going to affect the games later down the season. The Broncos have been remarkably healthy, but injuries happen. So these guys who you think are backups now could be starters by the end of the season. You got to see those guys play too. But I see value in playing the starters.
Sean Payton has made more than a few bold statements since he has been the head coach of the Broncos. One that sticks out was when he was at the Combine, and he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, I know how to spot and draft quarterbacks better than just about anybody else in the league.
Clearly.
And, well, he didn't have that history, though, because Drew Brees wasn't his draft pick. Ian Book was his draft pick. So he really didn't have
the Hall of Famer, Ian Book.
So Sean really didn't have a history of drafting great quarterbacks, but he came out with the statement. And I think when he said it, somebody like me, and I think a lot of other media members felt, boy, you're really putting yourself out there. As it turns out, with what we've seen through year one, Sean Payton might be right. Well, now Sean Payton has doubled down with Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. This is what he said about his young quarterback, Bo Nix. He said, I think in the next 2 years that Bo Nix is going to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Let's pick this apart. Let's just start with, do you believe it's going to be in no particular order? Because if you're talking top 5, if there are only 5 faces on Mount Rushmore, you only get 5 choices.
Yeah.
So you have Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, Allen, Nix.
Yeah.
I mean, should he have even said this? I mean, are you putting too much pressure on a young quarterback when you put that out there? I understand that when Sean made the comment at the Combine, he's putting himself on the spot.
Yeah.
Now he's putting his young guy on the spot. Or is he not?
So a lot to unpack here with this, because Sean Payton has a history of giving an interview to a national person, saying a little more than he would locally.
Right.
After a couple lattes.
And all the candles are lit in his room.
Right. Incense is burning.
Right.
The black light poster is glowing.
Right.
The lava lamp is bubbling.
Correct.
But he's also very savvy with the media and messaging. And I think that he's learned a couple lessons in the past couple of years about saying too much. But also, I think he likes to what's that? What do you want to say?
Nothing.
Very cool. I think he also likes to
I'm enjoying listening.
Throw some things out there and then see if his players can live up to it. Clearly, he thinks Bo Nix has it between the ears to have a lofty expectation like that set and now go try to achieve it. Now, he's not stupid. It requires all the moving parts around you playing at a high level, right? This is not just about you playing quarterback at a top 5 level in a vacuum. You got to have the receivers around you. You got to have the tight ends around you. You got to have the offensive line. You have to have a defense that complements you. And by the way, you need that strong running game, right? So the team has to be complete. So that tells me he feels good about the completeness of this team. And top 5, like you said, those are some big names to supplant there, because there's some other names we didn't mention who are pretty darn good quarterbacks too.
By the way, if it's going to be top 5, where's Jaden Daniels on that list?
Well, you said you like Bo better than Jaden.
No, I didn't say that.
You said you prefer him here because of the marriage with him and Peyton.
But I also prefer a quarterback that is not going to try and run for nearly 900 yards every year
Yeah.
because I'm worried that guy's going to get healthy. It doesn't mean I don't want Jaden Daniels as my quarterback. That's not what I said.
Right.
What I said was I don't want a quarterback that has the same frame as a Jaden Daniels as opposed to a Josh Allen who can absorb those hits.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has missed time because of injury. Michael Vick missed a lot of time because of injury. And
a lot of quarterbacks miss time because of injury, but I agree with you with the running stuff. And Bo, that's one of the things about his game. Last year, he did bail out of the pocket early sometimes. You know, when he didn't see something, he relied on his legs, and it was very effective for him. He knows how to pick up first downs with his legs, and he caught some people by surprise. This year, they're not going to be surprised by his running, right?
No.
They're going to have a plan for Bo,
Yep.
But he has learned a lot. He's learning how to stay in the pocket, and I think he had a quote, something like, last year he was just memorizing the plays. Now he's understanding why they happen.
We will get into that in a second. I want to take a step back really quickly.
Yeah.
Is that too much pressure to put on a young quarterback saying this guy's going to be top 5 in the next 2 years? Did he do him a service or a disservice?
You know, I don't love that one. But he sees it, so he must know what he's talking about, type of thing. So I'm going to step back and say, all right, you know what you're talking about, and let him go with that one, you know, because there's so many things that can happen throughout the course of a year that can derail a comment like that actually has nothing to do with Bo. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so all of a sudden, Bo's not living up to the expectations, type of thing. But I think that he wouldn't have said that if he doesn't think that that's going to propel him, and that he's seeing the signs of that being true.
So with that, getting to the quote that you talked about, so let's address it.
Yeah.
Bo Nix told Diana Rossini, longtime NFL reporter, I didn't know what I was doing last year. This is what Bo told Diana Rossini.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get through. I memorized the plays. I didn't understand the plays. I went from just doing it to understanding the why of it. How big of a deal is that comment if he genuinely believes it? And I believe he believes it.
Well, if you have the right coaches who act as teachers, they start to explain the game in a way where that is a natural process for the offensive players. Mike Shanahan used to do that for us. You know, as a receiver, we don't need to know everything that a quarterback knows, but we need to know why we are running the route we're running. Don't just run the route you're told to run. And young receivers will do that. You know, it's like, I'm supposed to run a slant here, you know, but why? Why are you running a slant? Is this so you can get open on the slant? Right. Or is there a big picture with a bunch of different route combinations that are supposed to put the defensive players they're supposed to strain them. They're supposed to put them in conflict. So the defense chooses one way and this guy's going to be open. They choose that way, this guy will be open. But the spacing between everyone is very important. And the coverage dictates how you convert a route. And if you don't convert it right, then you're running into an area that's going to be occupied by someone else. That kind of stuff. It's like when I'm a receiver and I just memorize my route, if I only know my route and what I do versus this coverage, I don't understand the big picture of it. But when I start to understand it, it makes me see what I'm doing in a way that makes it more complete and makes me less selfish and makes me understand that I have a role even when I'm not getting the ball. But a quarterback, it's even harder for him mentally because that big picture is bigger than the receiver dealing with this side of the ball and that thing. He's dealing with the whole kit and caboodle, and it's very wordy. He's the one who has to tell everyone else what the play is. Right. So he's not just listening for his job. He's got to listen for the whole thing and then give everyone else their job. And then he's got to get up to the line of scrimmage and do all that. So there's so many compartments.
Or he has to read the defense too.
Oh, and there's also the snap count and send your guy in motion, but you also got to do the shift and you're pointing out the mic. And there's so many compartments there. And you got to lock up this one compartment before you can move to the next one. Lock it. And then once you have all those skills, then you can do it all at once. And a lot of it becomes second nature. So then, like we talked about last week, he's looking at the defense and not worried about his side of the ball.
So when you played wide receiver and tight end, did you memorize the plays or did you try and truly understand them? And if you got to that point, and I'm guessing you did, how much easier was the offense for you in general? Or could you have just memorized the plays and it would have been the same game?
You know, I was, look at me. When people see me, they don't say, you were an NFL player.
I would agree.
They say, oh, you played in the NFL? And I have to be like, yeah, I did. Right. So my mind was my strength.
Right.
And I came from a college system where we actually ran a very similar West Coast passing system.
Okay.
So I was like ready for these concepts and I understood the big picture behind them. Still, you are so focused on your job that sometimes you don't see that because there's a guy right in front of you snarling and trying to smack you around, right? You have to beat the man in front of you. So it's hard to always think of the big picture. And then when I moved to tight end, man, that was a whole new skill set. So all of a sudden I have to worry about things that I never thought of. As a receiver, you never have to worry about line calls. You never have to worry about the defensive fronts, really. You're looking at the corner, the safety, that kind of triangle between me, the corner, and the safety to determine coverage. Yeah, the linebacker close to me, I'm looking at him. But as a tight end, I got to look at all these big bodies in the middle and figure out where they're lined up and what they're doing and look for the blitzes and listen for the calls. And that rounded out the idea of football offense in my mind more so than I had as a receiver. Receivers really don't know that much about what's going on because they're out on an island and they're not asked to.
Let me ask you, and I mean, no disrespect by asking.
But I'm gonna disrespect.
No. Actually, it's not meant with any disrespect, and I think you'll understand it when I ask the question. You understand football at a very high level compared to almost anybody on the planet, but knowing the responsibilities of the quarterback, understanding where all other 10 guys need to be. Knowing you have to get rid of the ball in less than 3 seconds, knowing the snap count, knowing the motion, reading the defense. Do you feel that you would have, if you played quarterback, have the processor and that highest of high acumen to be able to digest all of it if you knew you had the physical traits to play that quarterback position?
Are you asking me if I would have been a Hall of Fame quarterback had I done that?
No, what I'm asking is, a lot of quarterbacks like a Drew Lock, no matter how strong their arm is, no matter how good their feet are, from the neck up, it's not their fault. They're just not born with that process.
There's a temperament for sure.
Well, there's temperament too. But let me say this about Peyton Manning. And I talked to somebody who knows Manning well enough, and they had this conversation. Peyton Manning said to this guy who relayed this to me, he said, people think that I slaved over film for hours and hours and hours. He said, I did look at a lot of film. But when I looked at film, it came to me so quickly. It was easy for me. I could see something, understand it, and move forward with it. And it was just looking at it one time, and boom, I was good. Sometimes you have to look at the play over and over and over before it actually clicks with you. So as a guy who played football at the highest level, from the neck down, let's say you had cannon of an arm and great legs, and you had all the physical traits to play quarterback. How difficult from here up is that gift to have? Could you have done
no, you don't have to ask it another way.
Level? Could you have done it at that high level?
So it takes
I sure as hell no, I couldn't.
Well, to be a quarterback who stands stationary in the pocket as everyone else around you is moving, colliding, running at full speed, it takes a different type of guy. Like, that's what I meant about a temperament, to be able to stand still as something develops and watch it develop. Not only that, but you are looking beyond the danger to the coverage and the things developing to figure out where to throw it. So the danger is those guys coming to tackle you, right?
Yeah.
I played quarterback for one game sophomore year. I was a backup. My friend got hurt. I played that game. It was hard to look beyond those guys.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the game, I started to kind of get that rhythm. But I was back on the bench the next week. And then, at the end of that season, I'm like, I want to play. So I moved to receiver, and then the rest was history there.
Right.
But, the quarterback doesn't have to be perfect with the ball. That's the thing. He just has to throw it to a freaking area. And I and my brethren go get it. We have the harder job in that equation physically. You just have to throw it in the area. Okay, you have to make a decision and throw it. And then those athletes are going to go get it for you. They're, in my opinion, I've dropped back and thrown a ball before. And I've also run a route and caught the ball. The more difficult job is running the route and securing a catch than dropping back and throwing it.
You're kidding, right?
Absolutely not.
And I've not played this position, but what I can tell you,
what is hard, you can go drop back right now and throw a ball and probably get it close to a target. You can.
Yeah, if nobody's in my face,
right? But
if I don't have like 300-pound guys,
And that's what I was talking about.
And there's 2.5 seconds to go.
Right.
And oh, by the way, you happen to be tightly covered and there's safety help on you too.
Right. And what I was talking about is those compartments. So once you have.
So if we're playing in the playground.
No. What I'm talking about is the compartments of learning how to do the drop. You have those skills, right? So that becomes muscle memory. Don't have to think about that. Check. Right. Okay. Learning how to look beyond the line of scrimmage and beyond those D linemen. Now, that's not easy to do. You just mentioned that. But once I can do it, check. I've got that, right? Yeah. These are skills that you learn as you go along. But the physical difficulty of running a route and getting open and catching the ball and tracking it and securing it is more difficult than taking a drop and throwing it in an area. It just is. The quarterbacks have to, rely on their vision more, but they don't have to be perfect. And so this whole thing about how the quarterback is the hardest position in sports and blah, 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 absolutely not.
What is?
I mean, put it this way. I'm gonna put a hypothetical. Oh my God,
please don't tell me wide receiver.
I'm gonna put a hypothetical to you. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of receivers that I know who could have played quarterback. In fact, a lot could, because they have the arm, they have the size, they have the athleticism, they have the mind.
So did Jeff George.
Just let me finish my point.
Oh my God.
Okay.
You are totally discounting this.
No, I'm not. What are we? Is it math class? What are we doing here?
This is sports. You have great physical ability doesn't mean that you're going to be any good as a quarterback. Look at Vince Evans, who played for the Bears, who had a rocket of an arm and tried to throw it through people. Jeff George was considered one of the most talented, physically gifted quarterbacks to ever play in this league, and he couldn't get out of his own way.
Yeah. You're not rebutting my point here, but I'm not even quite finished. Could Peyton Manning have played any other position on the football field? Right. No. Okay, so he's not the best athlete, not even close, right? So this is a mental thing. You're talking about things you memorize.
But that's a skill.
Okay, but that's not the hardest position in sports. That's an outlier there. That is an outlier sort of skill set that I don't think equates to the conversation about what the most difficult thing is in sports. If it was the hardest thing, could these guys play until they're 45? If it's the hardest, that's like saying the heaviest weight is the one you can lift the most times. To me, it's not the hardest position in sports. It's the most protected. They're the most coddled.
Wow.
Are they not?
Oh,
I'm not saying it's not hard. Look, I'm saying it's they shouldn't be making 20% of the salary. Let
me flip this around to
Flip it.
What's more difficult? Knowing what 10 other guys on your team have to do, needing to know where all 10 of them are going to be, right blocking scheme.
The tight ends have to know that, by the way, as well, which is what I learned.
Bravo.
What do you mean,
you have to know? You don't have to know anything about the running back. You have to know what the running backs do too.
Of course.
So you knew what every single guy needed to do on that particular play.
Yep.
And then with a guy who's about
that's why Greg Olson's such a good announcer, because he knows all of that. And not only that, he has a practical knowledge of the application of these ideas, not just you're supposed to be there at that time. Well, how do I get there? You don't know that, quarterback, but I do. And so I actually have a more broader knowledge base about the game than the guy who stands stationary in the pocket. In theory, he would know as much as you would know about football if you watched a lot of film.
I'm going to sound so disrespectful, but whatever. I can tell you right now, having a guy who's 6'4", 260 pounds, coming clean at you while you're trying to release the ball is much harder than fucking running a post route.
No, it's not.
Please.
Guess what happens if that guy hits you as a quarterback? Guess what happens if he hits you? He gets thrown out of the fucking game, man.
What if it's not a late hit?
He can't even hit you. There are places where he can't hit you.
Well, you know what? Then you're pressured to throw the ball.
You're pressured to throw the ball.
You're telling me, Nate, you are telling me running a go route that anybody can run straight. That's it. You're telling me
if that were true, Usain Bolt would be.
Please, a post route. Please give me a break. Okay, so
I want to see you go run a post route, and we'll see if that's better than you trying to hit a target from 20 yards away.
This is going to end this debate right now.
You'll never be able to end this debate.
I used to do a show with another wide receiver, Mike Pritchard, who played for the Broncos.
Yeah.
And he would always come at me, and he would say, "No, Eric, you're wrong." So I'll ask you, a wide receiver, the same question.
Yeah.
Is the wide receiver a dependent position on the football
field? This argument is so silly.
I'm just asking.
So is a quarterback. Every position is dependent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The kicker is dependent, right?
Okay.
The snapper is dependent. on whether or not you're kicking it. It's all dependent. So this idea that, you're a dependent, this is one player in a team with 11, so they're all dependent upon one another.
They are. And I would agree. But at the end of the day, if the guys up front don't block, you never get the ball.
True.
So you're double dependent.
Double.
you need your line to block.
But the quarterback needs the receiver to catch it. He's dependent on the receiver skill 100% more than the same, the equal.
You have no opportunity to catch it if he doesn't have time to throw the ball. It's what comes first, the chicken or the egg. In this case, let's just call it the chicken, because you're not grabbing onto an egg if he has no time to throw it.
Okay, so they're all dependent on one another. Great, you made my argument. So why is the quarterback the one who gets?
You better not have these conversations with your good friend Jake Plummer, because he's.
I do. I love quarterbacks more than you probably, and I know them very well. I'm like friends with every.
There you go. You love what else do you love more than me? Chocolate?
Do you really want to go there?
Not really.
I'm friends with every quarterback I've ever played with. I just understand that it's an interdependent situation there, and that quarterback's job, this whole thing of like, let's put it all on the quarterback, and we need the quarterback. We don't have the quarterback. We can't do the quarterback. To me, that's not football. That is not football. It's been an evolution of the media game, the way you sell the game, the way you sell these guys, the way you endorse them, the way you get money out of them. Let's have them play till they're 50 if we can keep cashing in on their name, image, and likeness. But the team itself is full of men who have equally difficult jobs.
Yes.
And they're a lot more physically demanding than the quarterback's job. I mean, every training camp, I would have this moment where I'm just like hunched over on one knee, dripping sweat, maybe bleeding, trying to catch my breath.
I might be bleeding.
I would glance up.
We got a gusher here.
I would glance up and see one of my teammates wearing a red jersey, not a drop of sweat on him or a drop of blood on him.
Right.
Helmet, God knows where, holding court with a water bottle in one hand and a football in the other.
Yeah.
Playing the hardest position in sports. What does hard mean? What does hard mean? I guess that's the question. What does hard mean to you?
Well, I'm going to take that question and I want to answer it, but I'm going to flip it around a little bit. The neck up is not seen as a talent. It's just seen as a given. When we talk about measurables, how fast you are, how tall you are, how strong your arm is, so on and so forth. That's what we look for. We never can truly measure this because there isn't a brain scan out there that tells you how.
The Wonderlic test, man.
Yeah. It doesn't tell you how high your acumen is to truly understand the game. The mental approach that a quarterback has to have to play at the highest level, like a Manning, like a Brady, where you can look at a defense and say, I've seen this so many times on tape. I can tell you what your play is. You didn't probably have to know that, not you personally.
No, I'm with you on that.
But you don't have to know that as a wide receiver or an offensive guard, so on and so forth. What we don't do enough of when analyzing quarterbacks is talk about that from here up is a gift. Like it's a gift for a scientist who understands how to do whatever in a lab, or it's a gift where a doctor can do brain surgery. It's a gift. It's a given gift. And instead we only look at gifts as how good is your arm, how fast are your legs. With that, let's talk about a guy who had maybe the fastest processor of all time in Peyton Manning. Told Troy Rank of the Denver Post about this upcoming season. He said, I can tell from watching practice one day and sort of keeping up, belief and confidence are high in the building. And that's what you want. Where we are not hoping we are a good team, but knowing we are a good team, that you believe it. You and I have talked about this all off camera. Even if you're the most rotten team in the NFL, you walk into training camp, like into spring training in baseball, you believe there's 162 games in baseball, and
anything can happen.
Right, like Lloyd Christmas. So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
So every team believes. But with that, listening to Zach Allen talk after signing his deal, and Courtland Sutton, and Sean Payton about Bo Nix, all teams believe, but what you are hearing from the players and coaches, does this feel more than just we believe because the season hasn't started yet, or they really believe they have something special?
I think they believe they have something special.
Do you believe they have something special?
I think they're building it. Whether we see it come to fruition this year or not,
right?
Time will tell. They did have a very surprisingly successful season last year. 10 wins, got to the playoffs,
right,
and then got whacked, right? They got they got beat up in the playoffs to the point where they got, they had a really good lesson. It was a very good learning experience for them to understand what they need for the playoffs, because the playoffs are different from the regular season. Playoffs, yeah, it's different. It's different in the playoffs. You got to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to control the clock.
Is that Jim Mora?
That's right.
Let's we'll do a competition. Who does the better playoffs?
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just did it. Playoffs. No,
it's not as good.
Much. That was too aggressive, dude.
It's too aggressive.
Playoffs.
That's how he said it.
Playoffs.
Go give me a Dennis Green. You want to crown him? Crown him. Let me hear.
No,
that.
I don't. I can do a Dennis Green.
Let's get back to what we were talking about.
Here's the thing. Hoping versus knowing. Right. You hope you'll win when you haven't put in the work, when you haven't seen what it's going to take. But when you've done it, you put in the work, you've had the experiences, you've had the bitter defeats, you've won the close games, then you start to know what it takes. Sean Payton knows what it takes. Bo Nix is learning what it takes. And a lot of these players are learning what it takes. We talked about my transition from receiver to tight end. It was a tough transition. The first couple of years as a tight end, I would put my hand in the dirt, get down in front of a defensive end, and hope I made the block. Right. Guess what? I didn't. I got my butt kicked, right? But day after day, I went to work, working on my technique, working on understanding the offense, working on understanding my opponents and getting leverage and doing all that. And by the end of my career, I would put my hand in the dirt and know I was going to make that block. Now, did I make it 100% of the time? No, because he knows, he knows what I know.
Right.
So, but I won more than I lost at that point because I stepped to the line of scrimmage with the experience, the hard work to know that I was going to get it done. And that's what these guys are building right now. Is it going to come to fruition this year? We'll see. But they made the playoffs last year. They made it. Yep. So if they can get a couple home playoffs games, maybe they can supplant the Chiefs, take the division, and go on a run. It's going to be hard if they try to go on the road for 3 straight playoff games and win a Super Bowl. So
it's been done.
It has. The Steelers did it when they beat us.
Yes.
In 2005, right? But it's pretty rare.
That was not a fun game to watch.
It wasn't a fun game to be in either. But I do believe that this team is on the right path.
Okay. Before we continue this conversation, I want to tell you about Landmark Lincoln and the new 2025 Lincoln Navigator. This thing is absolutely loaded, smooth, powerful. This is not your grandpa's Lincoln. You got to take this thing for a spin around the block. And as for Landmark Lincoln, 4.9 star rating, over 560 verified viewers for a reason. They treat people right. They don't rush out to the parking lot when you park your car like, a bunch of vultures like on a carcass. They let you come in, check out the showroom, see what you like, and then if you need some help, they want to help you. But it's not high pressure sales at all. That's one of the great things about Landmark Lincoln. Go check them out off of Broadway or check them out online at landmarklincoln.com. With that, I don't want to say that we are in the prediction business, but sometimes we have to look beyond our nose when we have these conversations. And one of the conversations are, do you believe this team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Just give me a quick yes or no, because I want to follow up.
I say yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people will say no. They're not in that upper echelon yet of the Bills. To your point, let's look at what happened in the playoffs last year. Yeah. How about the Ravens? How about the Chiefs, who still haven't been dethroned yet, at least in the AFC? What I would ask anybody is this. I know injuries can happen. Just show me a hole in this roster. Show me a position group that doesn't have strength in it.
Yeah.
Show me a position group where the other team can pick on it. Because in every position group, they are strong depending on who the player is. I think they have the roster to win a Super Bowl. I think they have the coaching to win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
So then why shouldn't we be consistently
I think
talking about these guys as Super Bowl contenders?
I think if they get off to a hot start, you will. But you're gonna have to show it, because you do have a turnover on the roster. There's 20%, 25% new guys. It's a new year. There's a lot of things last year that happened for the Broncos that are maybe not. They won't have such good fortune. Defensively, they played against a lot of bad quarterbacks. You talked about that, right? They went 1-7 against playoff teams or something like that. So, but they saw it. They saw it in Buffalo, and every superhero has his origin story, right? And you go there and you get your butt kicked and you have that long plane ride back across the country, and you get to think about that stuff. You think about all the good stuff you did during the season, all the people you proved wrong, but then how it ended with a really bad taste in your mouth. And then you go back to work. And it didn't take these guys long to get back to work this offseason with this vision in mind to go win a Super Bowl. It's got to feel good having Sean Payton stand in front of you every morning, a guy who has won a Super Bowl, a guy who knows what it takes to win in this league, to tell you that you're on the right track. Then you can trust your process and go take it one week at a time, not look down the road to the Super Bowl. We know that's our goal, but we're taking this thing one day at a time.
When you played, did you like outside expectations? Or and
No.
please don't tell me that, well, I never listened to the radio.
Well, we fucking didn't, man. These guys aren't listening to the radio. Now,
yes, they are.
Well, now with the phones.
They know what's going on.
The phones and the internet and the TikTokers and the whatever. They're seeing more.
It's like a robot.
TikTok, TikTok. But they're seeing a lot more.
You almost sound like Dr. Eva. Come here, Scott. Red hot magma. Welcome to my underground lair.
Okay, all right.
Give a hug to Daddy.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And I'm almost bald. I'm just letting it all fall.
Shave it out, man. Shave it off.
I might have to.
Just do it.
You said to me that you don't.
Why don't we shave it? Why don't we all both shave our head on this show?
Well, that would be very exciting for the viewers,
wouldn't it?
Well, right.
Wouldn't the viewers like that? Maybe we can get donations.
You have more hair on your chin than I have in my head. Trust me, all of this is a mirage. Getting back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Expectations.
Yeah, the expectations.
And internal and external.
Contrary to popular belief, the Broncos probably aren't viewing this show like appointment viewing. You know what I mean? They're not like, hey, Sean Payton's not like, hey, man, did you see what these guys they're expecting you guys? No, dude, these guys are putting the expectations on themselves for bigger reasons.
They know what other people are saying.
Last year they were able to use the naysayers, right? Because PFF, or as I like to call them, you remember, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. PFF had them as the 32nd ranked roster in the league, right? And now this year they have them as the 9th ranked roster with all the same fucking players. So what changed, PFF? Now you know who they are. Obviously they've proven themselves, but they were able to use that nobody believes in us thing last year. And now it's flipped. Now it's everyone believes in us, right? So how do you turn that around? And Sean Payton is a master of messaging, of using, like, for example, they win a game, right? And everyone's fluffing them up. Well, what Sean Payton will do is go in there the next day and be like, here, you're lucky to get away with a win there because of all these mistakes that you made, and we're going to go over those. I'm not here to tell you how great you are. I'm here to tell you where you messed up, because that's going to come back and bite you at some point, right? So they're going to use these expectations, or he is, in a way that motivates him, or he's got to, because you can get complacent when everyone tells you how great you are.
Okay, so let's bring the show full circle. How's he going to do that with Bo Nix, who he just said he believes will be a top 5 quarterback in the next 2 years?
That's how he does it, I guess, is to give him a lofty expectation.
Internal expectations. You have guys at the podium talking about Super Bowl. Internal expectations. Sean Payton making this comment about Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are plenty of guys in the locker room that are on social media who hear what other people are saying. Outside expectations. I think the biggest question heading into this season is, how do they handle those expectations? Let's look at 2 years ago when they needed a win in Houston against the Texans. And that final play would have been better drawn up in the dirt.
That's right.
Then 2 of the final 3 games of last season, trying to secure really that 10th win, not knowing if Kansas City was going to rest its starters in the finale. They lose to the Chargers.
Yeah.
They lose to the Bengals in overtime.
Yep.
They didn't handle that very well.
No, they didn't.
So how are they going to now? I don't want to say there's pressure, and pressure can,
pressure makes diamonds, man. You know that, right?
I'm familiar. How do you think that
I'm making one right now?
My wife has her ring. I went to a coal mine in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
It'll be ready in 10 years.
And I found myself a piece of coal, and I fired it up
with
the
my
long
big
game.
Lighter. Yeah, the moment you met her, you shoved that thing up there, and it's popped out.
Shove that thing up where?
Pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah, that
whatever.
You just gave a whole different illustration when you said shoved that.
I was talking about what you think I was talking about. That's where you kept it. She had to wash it off.
I can tell you right now, you have a great audience in Jesse, who's next door.
If I can they say if you can make one person laugh,
he's the only person laughing.
Well, you never know. There are strangers out there watching. But I did want to make one point about this team, right? Because last year, the world thought they were going to suck. They didn't. They believed they had something going.
I didn't think they'd suck.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't think they were going to be as good as they were.
Correct.
They ended up proving people wrong.
Yes.
Maybe even proved some of themselves wrong, right? Made the playoffs, made some waves. And then they got beat in the playoffs. But now they saw that. Now they know that they're on the right track. And over the last week, you've had guy after guy come to the podium and talk about how this is something special. That was the best practice I've ever been involved with in my life. Some guys said that after this practice last week.
Yeah.
This was the best practice I've been involved with.
Was that Malcolm Roach?
Malcolm Roach said that. Adam Troutman said that. Since he's been here, that was the best practice. So piggybacking off a 10-win season last year where people weren't expecting them to do anything, now they're having the best practices of their lives. This is a team that if they don't win the Super Bowl would probably see this season as a disappointment.
Is this the best show today you've ever done in your life?
By far. At least the best show I've done today.
Once I figure out what the word condescending means, I think I'm going to be really pissed at you.
Yeah, let me know. Give me a call when you look that up.
Hopefully on Thursday,
okay,
you can say, this is the best show I've ever done in my life, because we'll be back at 3:00. Thanks for watching. What do we call this show again? Going Deep?
Going Deep.
Going Deep with Jackson and Goodman. Make it the best possible day you can.